I never understood why my grandfather repeated the same sentence my entire childhood. Never trust a man who smiles while stabbing you in the back. I used to laugh. But on the day my world collapsed, on the day I learned who my real enemy was, those words became the only thing keeping me from completely falling apart. And the best part? The man who betrayed me never saw what was coming. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted with your whole heart, if anyone has ever underestimated you, disrespected you, or taken advantage of your kindness, hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready, because my grandfather didn't just teach me about betrayal. He taught me how to finish a fight without raising my voice. My name is Daniel, and my grandfather, Arthur Byrne, was the kind of man people didn't forget easily. Even at 82, he walked with his shoulders straight, his jaw set, and eyes sharp enough to slice through lies. But the thing I remember most, his voice lowering whenever he spoke about betrayal, almost like he could still feel old wounds burning under his skin. One evening, when I was maybe 12, he took me aside after dinner. The silence in the house was heavy, and the only sound was the ticking of the mantel clock.
"Daniel," he said, resting a hand on my shoulder, "betrayal never comes from strangers.
It comes from the ones you trust." At the time, I nodded like any kid would. But inside, I didn't really understand. What could I know about betrayal? Now, I wish I had listened harder. Fast forward 20 years. I was 32, working at my grandfather's construction firm, Byrne & Sons. A small but respectable business. I was set to inherit it someday. Not because of birthright, but because Grandpa believed in earning everything. And I did. Every late night, every blueprint, every negotiation. But there was someone else in the company, Michael. A coworker. Friendly, charming, always smiling, the kind of man who remembered birthdays and bought coffee for everyone, and Grandpa. He never liked him. He'd stare at Michael with those sharp, icy eyes and whisper, "Son, some men hide their teeth when they're planning to bite." I brushed it off. I thought Grandpa was being overly protective, but I didn't see what he saw. It happened on a Thursday morning. I walked into the office expecting a routine meeting. Instead, I found silence, and people avoiding my eyes. When I entered the boardroom, I saw the partners seated stiffly. Michael sat among them with a stack of papers, his expression tight but confident. "Daniel," he said, tone falsely sympathetic, "we've reviewed your accounts, and there are discrepancies." Confusion stabbed through me. "What discrepancies? I handle everything transparently," but he cut me off. "We have evidence that you've been diverting company funds." My blood ran cold. My stomach twisted. I felt heat rising up my neck. He pushed a folder toward me. Inside were forged documents, transfers, signatures that looked like mine, manipulated reports. "Effective immediately," he continued. "The partners have voted to suspend you pending investigation." My heart was pounding so loud I could barely hear. "Michael," I whispered, "you know this is fake. You know I didn't do this." He leaned in slightly, and with that same smile Grandpa warned me about, he whispered, "I told them everything. You shouldn't have underestimated me." That smile, that soft, poisonous smile. I felt something inside me crack. I walked out of the building with shaking hands, a burning throat, and betrayal sinking deep into my bones. I had lost the company, lost my reputation. And worst of all, I had proven Grandpa right. I drove straight to Grandpa's house. My chest felt tight, like something was crushing me from the inside. He opened the door before I even knocked, like he already knew. One look at my face, and he simply said, "Who was it?" "Michael," I choked. "He framed me. He took everything." Grandpa didn't look surprised. He didn't even look angry. No, he looked ready. "Come inside," he said. "We're going to fix this." We sat in his study, a room filled with old books, dusty blueprints, and framed newspaper articles from his early days. He placed a worn leather folder on the table. "This," he said, "is everything I never told you about Michael." My breath caught. He opened the folder and revealed documents, photos, and notes. It turns out Michael had a long history not of crime, but of strategic betrayal. Small companies, friendships, partnerships, each ending with him walking away richer and someone else ruined. Grandpa had been tracking him for years. "Why didn't you warn me?" I asked. He smiled sadly. "I did warn you. You just needed to learn to look deeper." Then he showed me something else, a recording. From a week earlier, a conversation in which Michael bragged to another contractor about taking over the Byrne legacy soon. My skin crawled. "Grandpa, how did you even get this?" He shrugged lightly. "Old men hear things." But he wasn't done. He reached for another file. "Daniel, everything he forged, every corruption trail, every fraudulent step, I have proof. But we won't just expose him." He leaned closer. "We'll let him expose himself." For the first time in days, I felt hope. The plan was simple but brilliant. Michael's ego was his weakness. He craved admiration, power, validation. So we gave him exactly what he wanted. We leaked a rumor, through someone we knew would run straight to him, that an investor was interested in his new leadership but wanted private proof of his takeover plan. We used an alias, a fake email, a fake identity, and Michael, he fell for it instantly. He wrote pages, bragging about how he forged documents, manipulated partners, and destroyed me. He explained everything in detail. He even attached scanned copies of the fake files he created. It was all there. Self-incrimination in high definition. Then, we forwarded the email to the board. The next morning, I was asked to come in. I walked into the same boardroom, but this time, the atmosphere was different. Cold, silent, electric. Michael sat across from me, pale, sweating, and shaking. The partners stared at him like he was poison. "Michael," one of them said, "care to explain this email?" He stammered. He tried to say it was fabricated. But the attachments were in his handwriting, his login history, his email trail. Everything was ironclad. His smile was gone. I didn't say a single word. I didn't need to. Grandpa always said, "The quietest man becomes the loudest when the truth speaks for him." Within minutes, Michael was fired. Security escorted him out. And the board turned to me with heavy regret. "Daniel, we owe you the deepest apology." I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just nodded. Because this wasn't just my victory. This was Grandpa's lesson coming full circle. When I walked out of that building, the cold air hit my skin like freedom. I felt everything rushing at once, anger melting into relief, pain dissolving into pride, betrayal turning into justice. I drove straight to Grandpa's house. He was sitting on the porch, waiting. "Well?" "Completely." Grandpa nodded once, satisfied. "I knew he would," he said quietly. "Men like him can't help it." Then he looked at me, eyes soft, voice steady. "Remember this, Daniel. Betrayal doesn't define you, but how you rise after it will." I'll never forget that moment. Oh, in the end, Michael destroyed himself. Not because I fought back with rage, not because I begged or pleaded, but because my grandfather taught me the one truth that turned the entire story. Let a betrayer speak long enough, and he'll hang himself with his own words. Justice wasn't loud. It wasn't violent. It was quiet, sharp, and devastatingly clean. If there's one thing I learned, it's this. Trust is fragile, and betrayal hurts deeper than most wounds. But revenge, real revenge, is letting the truth do the talking. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and tell me in the comments. Have you ever seen someone betray someone else and get exactly what they deserved? And of course, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this.